What is up, YouTube? It's Ace back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about something that's been on my mind and something that I know a lot of you have come to this video to figure out what exactly is this user-generated content thing and how can I get a piece of the pie. So, for those of you who don't know, user-generated content is essentially photo or video that a user produces for a brand that is featured on the brand's page. So this is original or brand related content that is featured on a brand's social media, and it's produced by what is supposed to be the customer of the page. Now that is original user generated content, but nowadays brands are actually paying creators to create this content for them. So while the creators are not necessarily customers, typically the creators are a fan of the brand's product or service. So this user-generated content game plays into a much bigger picture with the creator economy in general. For those of you who don't know, content is king right now. If you're a business and you're not producing content, you are getting left behind. So many brands and businesses are rushing to figure out how can they consistently produce things that catch attention and get eyeballs on their products and services. So a traditional means of making content would be paying an influencer on Instagram who has already built a following to promote your product or service and say good things about it. Now, this is called influencer marketing, which for the past decade has been what most brands run to when they pay creators to make content for them. But now with the onset of short form video content like TikTok, IG Reels, and YouTube Shorts, brands are in a much higher need of video content. And influencers can't make all of this content on their own. Plus, influencer marketing is quite expensive when you think about it. I mean, brands will pay an influencer $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 or more for just one post. So what brands are starting to run to are average, everyday users just like you and me, who can pick up a phone, record their thoughts. So what they're doing is producing testimonials, unboxings, reviews, or other types of content that can get eyeballs on their products or services. And the difference between influencer marketing and user-generated content marketing is that the creator for influencer marketing does have to have an audience. The brand is paying to get access to that creator's audience that they've built over a number of years. Whereas with user-generated content, that creator does not need to have a following. All they need to do is to be able to create high-quality content that moves leads to buy or purchase that product or service. And that's why this is such a big deal, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because anybody can get in on the user-generated content game. It's just a matter of, do you have simple things like a camera, a tripod, maybe a microphone if you want to get fancy, and do you know how to make content that sells? Once again, when you're making user-generated content, you are not posting that content on your own page. You're actually posting it on the brand's page, and the brand is using that content to get more eyeballs on the things that they're selling. But most user-generated content creators are freelancers, meaning they don't necessarily work with the brand, but they do contract out their services and provide photo and video for that brand to use on their own page. Is user-generated content a viable business? And is it something that you can use to bring in an extra income for yourself or even turn into a full-time income if you take it seriously enough? Yes, absolutely. User-generated content is something that a lot of people are starting to take note of. As we get further in the social media game, people are starting to realize that they really trust what their peers have to say about a product versus what some glorified influencer has to say about the same product. When you think about it, user-generated content comes off as way more authentic, and it's easier to trust because you're a regular, average, everyday person giving your honest thoughts and reviews on a product that you really like, and you're more likely to convince me, someone who's looking at your content, to buy or purchase that item because I really believe in what you're saying, because you're not getting paid thousands of dollars to make that content. You're probably making that content because you got paid a little bit, but also because you really like the product that you're selling. We decided that user-generated content is a viable business, but what makes a good creator in the first place? Well, number one, a good creator is a great storyteller. No matter what type of content you're producing for a brand, that brand is going to want to know, do you understand the product that you're featuring in your content? And can you sell a story that moves people to take some sort of action, whether that be engagement or whether that is actually going to the website and making a purchase? Good storytellers are typically people who understand human emotion and generally how to move people in a given direction. One book that I really like for getting to understand human psychology when it comes to the game of marketing is a book called Cashvertising by Drew Whitman. I highly recommend that book. I tell everyone I know about that book because it really does get down to the nitty-gritty of the little things in an advertisement that makes that ad effective. The second trait of a good creator is going to be how well they hustle. It's all about the hustle, baby. I don't care if you are somebody who's been in the game for 20 years, 5 years, or 5 minutes. You're going to need to be a good hustler in order to make a full-time income out of being a creator, especially a user-generated content creator. The main thing is that a lot of these brands are just now waking up to the idea of outsourcing their content efforts. And so a lot of times when you're reaching out to brands, you have to tell the story and educate them on what user-generated content is in the first place, because a lot of them don't know. And you're going to have to continuously do this over and over again until you've grown your clientele to be more than enough to take care of your living expenses. So learning how to use the internet and leverage the internet to make a hustle into a business is definitely going to be the trait of a great creator. And another trait of a good creator is going to be someone who knows how to lead a community. On one end of the user-generated content game is contracting out your services so that you can work with brands. But then there's another side of actually building a community for yourself so that you can get more what we call inbound leads and more eyeballs on the work that you've already produced. And this comes from building a community, educating yourself on user-generated content, and then spreading the word and teaching someone else as well and building your community in the process. So there's a couple of platforms that I really like to use to build my community. Number one is going to be Twitter. I found Twitter to be so effective when it comes to networking with other creators and finding brands who are going to be interested in my services. But I've also found that TikTok, as well as an educational platform, I found to be very useful. I find a lot of people who look at my content that I produce on TikTok, and if you want to know my TikTok, I'll link it down below. But my content on TikTok is mainly focused on helping other UGC creators get into the game and also teaching people how they can make a full-time income using an online hustle. You know what makes a good creator, but now what are the steps that you can use to get started in UGC altogether? So number one, the first thing that I usually tell people is to get on Twitter and get all of your social media platforms set up. When it comes to UGC, you are now a professional who makes content for other brands. So brands are going to want to see what you can do. And the best way to show off what you can do is by putting your work on social media platforms. So you're going to get an IG setup, a Twitter setup, a TikTok setup, even a YouTube if you want to. And you're going to start posting on those platforms specifically as a UGC creator. Now, what content are you going to be posting? That leads me to the second point of how to get started in UGC is you're going to create a portfolio. Now, a portfolio can happen in many forms. It can be either on your social media or you can make a website through something like Canva, but you're going to go around your house and pick 5 to 10 items that you really enjoy. These are going to be products that you're absolutely obsessed with and you use all the time. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick up your phone, you're going to start creating video, TikTok, IG Reels, whatever is trending right now. You're going to try to incorporate some of the trends on some of these popular social media apps into the content that you produce using these products. So you might do a testimonial where you walk through you using a product and what you really liked about it, your 7-day review, your 5-day review, something like that. Or you may have just got a brand new refill of a product and you can do an unboxing, maybe opening that product for the first time and giving your genuine reaction of what you think about it. There are so many different content types that you can do. And what you're going to do is film all of your content and put it into one place, one portfolio on a website. Now, I like to use canva.com which has been proven to be absolutely critical when it comes to the UGC game and content creation in general. Canva is a powerhouse when it comes to content creation, so it is something that you want to get used to. But you're going to place all of the content that you've made onto your website and basically show off what you can do. When you're first starting out, you're going to be tempted to choose a niche like skincare or fashion, but I highly recommend being very diverse with the content that you produce and just putting out good work so that brands can get a good feel for the various types of content that you can put out there. And when you're making your content that you're putting in your portfolio, make sure that you pay attention to what actually catches your attention online. So now that you're a UGC creator, you're going to move from just being a regular bystander on the internet, passively scrolling through social media for hours, to being an active onlooker studying what works on various platforms like TikTok or IG. So now you're going to be looking at what catches your attention in the first 3 seconds of the video, what makes you stay for the duration of the video, when do you get the value from the video, what is the call to action for each of the videos. You're going to start paying attention to all of those things and incorporating those things into your portfolio so that you can at least get some type of competency when it comes to creating content for other brands. And once you've built your portfolio, you can start reaching out to brands in various ways. There are 3 ways that I like to reach out to brands. Number 1 being Twitter, which is my holy grail. I love using Twitter to reach out to brands. Number 2 being Upwork, which I'm still testing and trying to find my stride on that platform. And then number 3, the hardest, but possibly the most lucrative, being cold email. Now, you've built your portfolio and you're ready to start reaching out to brands, but what exactly do you say in your email? This is where it comes down to practice, practice, practice. When you first start out reaching to brands, you may not know exactly what to say or even how to pitch them in general. So this is where trial and error really come into play. So getting a set schedule, a goal of companies that you want to reach out to every day. Maybe you decide on 5 personalized messages a day. Go for that number and see how businesses respond. And then once you've got a good idea on what's working, you can double down on what's working in your emails or your messages, or you can decide on a different approach. There are tons of UGC creators out there that have built email templates that you can use. I like to go on Twitter and find different people who have already done those things, and you can just purchase from them if you'd like, or you can build your own email templates from scratch. So what is the actual goal of UGC? We know that the whole purpose is to create content that brands can use on their page, but what is all of this? What's the point and purpose of all of this in the first place? So the main goal for UGC is to drive traffic and sales. A business is nothing without its customers, and customers bring sales, and sales are the lifeline of any business. So your whole focus should be on figuring out what sells, what gets people's attention, and what keeps that attention long enough to drive them to do some action.